Georgia achieved major success in Euro 2024, defying expectations by advancing to the round of 16 in their first ever Euros finals appearance. Under the guidance of manager Willie Sagnol, the team developed a strong mentality, overcoming the odds and showcasing remarkable resilience. Here is how you can replicate Sagnol's tactics in FC24. Willie Sagnol would look to deploy Georgia in a 5-3-2 formation that could develop into a 3-5-2 formation with the wingbacks pushing high up the field and adding to the attacking outlets of the side. But more so, a back five system was very much needed and required in order to instill a very tough and rigid defensive system. The tactical approach of Sagnol is one that is very, very, very defensive, and probably one of the most defensive systems we've made so far on the channel. So if you take a look at the defensive structure and the style of play, it is going to be set to drop back, along with the team width being set to 10, a very, very compact structure in those central zones, which can allow for a lot of blocks to occur, and as well as trying to make sure that you are minimizing the space between the defenders, making it very difficult for the opposition to try and play through those central areas of the field. And then, of course, the depth will be set to a very low 20, creating that nice, solid mid-block approach that might be able to push up a little bit higher, especially against Czechia. We did see that they were a little bit more confident, you could say, by their aggressive nature and looking to try and progress the ball high up the field and have a bit more possession as well. But I think overall-wise in the tournament, they maintained around 41% possession, which does mean that they were quite happy to give the opposition the ball and sit back in a very good, solid defensive structure. The offensive tactics for the side was more so about counter-attacking and looking to develop into the space that the opposition's defensive line may have left in behind them. The likes of Kvaratskhelia as well as Mikitadze were very good at being able to run into those wider areas or potentially go ahead and combine in the central zones and look to try and exploit the opposition with their lightning quick pace and behind. So the build-up play will be set to fast build-up. The minute you win the ball back, whether it's in your midfield zones or alternatively in your backline, looking to either punt the ball long or progress it further forward into the midfield and then of course into the strikers, who will then look to quickly and swiftly move the ball towards the opposition's net. The chance creation will be set to forward runs because after prolonged, sustained periods of time with the ball, you do tend to see Georgia flood attackers forward, flood the midfielders forward, and that can lead to some vast overloads being created in the attacking zones. The other offensive tactics will be the width being set to 70 and the players in the box being set to 4. Not looking to overcommit too many players, more so you want your strike partnership in and around the attacking zones, while still having a good amount of support on the edge of the area, whether it's the wing backs getting forward and looking to potentially recycle possession and whip in extra crosses or cutbacks, as well as some of your midfielders looking to stay on the edge of the box and again look to recycle possession or alternatively look to occasionally counter press. Now in the defense, they will be looking to consistently drop back into their defensive shape, but we did see Georgia on the odd occasion aggressively press, and there were a few pressing triggers that would allow the forwards to kind of engage and look to try and win the ball back. We saw against Portugal that in the wider areas they were very aggressive when trying to win the ball back, and I think that was a specific tactic for that game. But we have seen that this Georgia side are very good at being able to press higher up the field, so there is also that element that you would want to add into your game. And of course, the width of the side being set to 70. Now when the opposition would flood players forward, the wing backs would often get nice and high from the opposition, leaving those wider spaces very much vacant and available for your players to go ahead and attack. So when you are looking to try and stem those quick fast break counters, look to try and attack down the wider areas of the field, whether it's through Kvaratskhelia or the other striker looking to drift into those wider spaces, or alternatively the wing backs looking to get nice and high and attack the wider areas of the field. And then finally, people, the corners and the free kicks should be set to 4. Onto the individual player roles and instructions, starting off at the back with the goalkeeper in Mamadashvili, who will be set to come for crosses, of course, at a fantastic, super tall, super airy, physically dominant juggernaut of a human being. Mamadashvili for Valencia as well as for Georgia in Euro 2024 has been simply sublime. So you want him to be very aggressive, you want him to be very imposing when those aerial crosses are fired into the box, and more times than not he is going to meet the ball in the air and relieve the stress and the pressure on the backline of this Georgian side. Now the saving outside of the box, I have left this on balance. He can do it. I do think he does have that skill set to do it, but you aren't playing the highest of lines. You're playing a mid block or a low to mid block or even a deep block where it doesn't require the goalkeeper to be off of his line. Having the defense as well as the midfield try and deal with the runners and behind and all that stuff does tend to allow him to stay on his line and make the 1v1 individual saves, which again, he is incredible at doing. The 3 centre backs will all be set to the same instructions and have the same roles, and that will be set to conservative interceptions, allowing them to try and keep their back line intact as best as possible, allowing them to maintain the structural integrity of the base of this defense. And of course, on the odd occasion, they can also be very involved in being able to play out from the back if Georgia were looking to build it, from the back and then progress it further forward. But more times than not, they would look to win the ball back and hoof it up the field into that wide vacant space for one of the runners to go ahead and latch onto. So as you'll see here, the other guys, they're all set to conservative interceptions, whereas your wing backs will be set to maintaining a balanced attacking support, allowing them to get forward, yes, but you also want them trying to maintain this backline shape and structure, especially in those wider zones, because they will definitely be tasked with trying to pick up the runners in those wider spaces, because more naturally, you will be set to compact in those central areas. So your wing backs do tend to be the odd players out with trying to defend the wide channels. So you want them to have a balanced approach where they can look to get forward and help generate that 3-5-2 formation when you are looking to be a bit more confident and more attacking. And when they do get forward, you want them to also overlap, consistently adding the width to the side and pairing up with Kvaratskhelia as well as Mikitadze in those wider spaces. As you'll see here for the right back, he is set to the same role and instructions as well. And I forgot to mention, but they will also be set to step up because they are going to be the only players in those wider areas. You want them to be very imposing and aggressive towards the opposition wide attackers. Into your midfield, and starting off at the base with the DM, who will be set to maintaining a balanced defensive behavior, allowing him not to aggressively impose himself or drift out wide or try and, intercept and cut out passing lanes. He'll more or less look to, again, maintain the structural integrity of the base of the midfield, looking to try and help out the backline and screen just in front of that backline and make sure that he's doing his best to try and break up the opposition play, which more times than not, he was very capable of doing. The attacking support will be set to stay back while attacking, as well as you want him to be set to conservative interceptions. Again, you don't want him aggressively imposing himself and drifting all over the field and opening up space in those central zones. You want him in front of that back 3/back 5 at times, making sure that he's screening in front of them and protecting them as best as possible. And to be fair, the central midfielders will also do a very similar job themselves. And last but not least, the other instructions, the positioning freedom will be set to stick to position, paired up with the defensive positioning being set to cover the central zones. Your 2 essential number 8s in the system will also be set to stay back while attacking, as well as when they do, break forward on the odd occasion, looking to try and stem together those quick counter-attacking opportunities. You want them to stay on the edge of the box. You don't want to overcommit to too many players. You want more or less your strikers being in and around the attacking zones, but you want a little bit of support on the edge of the area, and that will come from these 2 number 8 players. So you want them staying on the edge of the box, and occasionally you might see 1 or 2 breaking into the box themselves, but it is very rare that this will happen. The interceptions will be set to normal, and you want them to cover the wider areas, helping supply the fullbacks with a bit more defensive coverage in certain moments, but more so because it's a nice compact system, they'll try and, stay in those central areas. And then finally, you want them to stick to position. Now into the strike partnership that helped propel Georgia to the knockout rounds versus Spain, where they obviously lost 4-1. But nonetheless, this duo in the group stages was absolutely fantastic. Mikitadze, I'm pretty sure he scored 3 goals, with Kvaratskhelia scoring, I think, 2. 1 was definitely against Portugal. Nonetheless, a fantastic outlet for this team. When the team was under a lot of pressure and they just needed to hoof the ball up the field, they could consistently rely on Kvaratskhelia as well as Mikitadze making those runs forward, looking to sacrifice for the team by pressing the opposition high up the field in certain moments. So you want them both to be set to maintaining a balance with them. This will allow them to stay centrally or alternatively drift wide into those wider spaces. I do know that Kvaratskhelia would at times look to attack those wider areas from the left space, but more so you want them both being set to maintaining that balanced role. That way there can be a good amount of interchange between who stays central and who drifts out wide. Paired up with the fact that both will also be told to break in behind, looking to always be an outlet ball down the field and impose themselves on the opposition's backline, always making them very wary of where the likes of this duo will always be on the field. So you want them looking to try and penetrate the backline as much as possible. The interceptions for both will also be set to normal, although you want them on the odd occasion pressing the opposition's backline, pressing the goalkeeper, forcing him into a few errors and mistakes potentially. You can do this with second man pressing or alternatively the D-pad, but more so you want mainly just the front 2 pressing and probing. Now I know against Portugal the wing backs were very involved high up the field with looking to press from those wider areas, but more so it is going to fall on the duty or the juice is going to fall on the role of these two strikers. I don't even know if that makes sense, but nonetheless, you want these two guys being the aggressors when trying to lead that press, whilst everybody else looks to regain and maintain their natural structural positioning. And then finally, people, the likes of Mikitadze will be set to maintaining a basic defensive support. He does tend to drop back at times to help, drop into that defensive shape and structure, formulating a 5-4 or a 5-5. I guess that's the formation. You do tend to see on a regular basis Kvaratskhelia and Mikitadze both dropping quite deep, or at times you need one of them being the outlet, and that will be the likes of Mikitadze. So that's why he is essentially set to basic. Whereas the likes of Kvaratskhelia, you want him drifting into those wider tunnels, but at the same time you also want him staying central, being the focal point of the attacking outlet. Now the only change that I have made is I have set him to come back on defense, because quite often the natural positioning of the superstar number 7 was essentially playing in the midfield, winning the ball back and then running with it forward and looking to combine quite frequently with Mikitadze. So that's why he will be set to come back on defense. But otherwise, you want him breaking behind, you want him using his pace, you want him being very scary and electrifying on the offensive end, looking to consistently use his pace to the team's advantage, combining frequently with the strike partner. And then, of course, having normal interceptions. And there we go, people. That is how I would implement George's tactics from Euro 2024 into FC24. I really do hope you guys have enjoyed the tactical video. For me personally, I don't like these tactics whatsoever. I despise them. They can lead to a few breakdowns on the defensive end. You will see I will add in a clip or two. And also on the offensive end, because there's not that much support, you can tend to lose the ball. And therefore, that's why I feel, it's warranted that I will give this system the worst ever ratings on the channel. And I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Look, the counter-attacking is great. The basketball play is fantastic. But I don't want to watch basketball. I want to watch controlled football. And most importantly, when I'm playing FC24, I want to maintain a control over the game. And I do feel like at times you don't really have a real say in the tempo being set. You need it to be fast, you need it to be quick, you need to always invite the pressure. And that can lead to a few things going wrong for your team. So that's why I'm giving it a 3. But you guys will have to let me know down below. If you are interested in playing quick end-to-end football with any team, these would probably be the tactics for you. Good defensive structure, but at the same time, sometimes it can, be exploited. But yes, you guys will let me know down below. Anyways, we have started the Brom Squad Gaming Discord server, so the link will also be down below in the description. Go ahead, check that out. Please, we discuss everything football as well as FC24 tactics on there. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and all that good stuff. But anyways, until the next time, until the next one, I hope you guys have a smashing damn day. I'm out of here. Peace.